Hi guys, welcome back to the part 2 of the discussion that we were having. That is, we are discussing the news in 30 minutes from the 20th of February to 28th of February. Okay, so let us continue with the next important article. The next important article is an article that is written in a very negative tone, that is a disservice to the education sector. Okay, now as you can see, why the author is so the author is giving such a negative connotation is the interim budget 2024. This interim budget has slashed allocation to higher education by 16.8%, and it says this will exacerbate the economic burden on both the educational institutions as well as the students. This is a valid having this negativity is valid because higher education is important, and having general increasing our gross enrollment ratio in the higher education is one of the very important aspect of our policy, national policy making. Okay, and see, the first and foremost aspect that you should understand is, one, the author is giving this type of a outlook because of the interim budget. Okay, as you just read that in the interim budget, the the higher education, the allocation was slashed by 16.8%. Hence the author is not happy about it. The author is also trying to justify why the author is not happy by telling that the author gives two aspects. The author tells, one, education 2023, there was something called Incheon Declaration. There is something called Incheon Declaration, and in this this Incheon Declaration, this declaration was championed by India, and according to this declaration, the education, the higher education in let's say education itself, the education in any country including India should always be inclusive, should always be equitable, and should always have qualitative learning. Okay, so the education in India should be inclusive, equitable, and qualitative. The second aspect of the Incheon Declaration was that the national allocation to education, should be 4 to 6% of GDP. 4 to 6% of GDP. Okay, so this is what India had committed during the Incheon Declaration, which India itself had championed. However, if we take the current scenario of the allocation, of the government to education, the current scenario comes up to just 2.8% of GDP. Okay, now look at this. If you take the Incheon Declaration and if you take the current allocation, already there is a huge gap. Now, on top of this gap, if the higher education allocation is slashed by another 16.8%, this is why the author is angry. This is why the author says that it is a disservice to the education sector that this slash is being done. Okay, so I hope you understood this. On the realm of education, already we are lagging behind, and on top of that, in the interim budget, we have slashed the allocation to higher education. Okay, now see, just to give you clarity of what exactly happened in interim budget. See, interim budget 2023, in this budget, so the grants given to UGC and that allocated to HEFA. Okay, these are the two things that you should consider. Okay, now if you take UGC, there was a cut of over 60% allocations compared to its previous fiscal year. Okay, there was 60% cut compared to its previous fiscal year. Okay, whereas HEFA, there was 28% increase in its allocation. Okay, so this is something that you should understand. UGC basically provides grants, and these grants can help the other higher educational institutions. It can help other higher educational institutions, and also it can reduce the fiscal burden. It can reduce the fiscal burden on students. That is why these grants are important. Whereas HEFA is basically in charge of upgrading. It is basically in charge of upgrading higher educational infrastructure. It is in charge of upgrading higher educational infrastructure. And to upgrade this higher educational infrastructure, it provides soft loans. So these loans are given to the higher educational institutions, and these institutions can use the loan to upgrade their infrastructure. However, they have to pay back. Okay. Now, by taking loans, these higher educational institutions are now under the fiscal pressure, and hence there cannot be any incentives given to the students. So the students are also under fiscal burden. Okay, this is the argument given by the author. Okay, this is the argument given by the author. But what the government says is this HEFA, by giving soft loans to the higher educational institutions, will improve the efficiency of their functioning, and it will make them self-sufficient. Okay, rather than having a lackadaisical or lethargic attitude, by giving some type of responsibility to pay back the money, that can help the institutions to work more efficiently and effectively. That is the argument on the government side. Okay, now the author argues otherwise. This is fine, the argument is always good, but overall this is the entire scenario. So at the outset, if you take the overall allocation between UGC and HEFA, overall there is 16.8% reduction of allocation to higher educational institution. This is in a way bad. Okay, education and healthcare are two things where the allocation should never reduce. Okay, however, now this is the argument. You should not use such terminologies in your answers. Don't write this particular heading at all. Never say a disservice at all. It is just that you can use this as statistics in order to talk in a way of challenges. What you can say is the challenges that India faces in higher education institution. You can put a heading like that and then give the such analysis rather than talking as a disservice. You should never put such connotations that will affect or put the government of the day in a negative limelight. Okay, so now let us also give some more analysis. The author has given some more analysis. Now this analysis again can be taken as challenges. Okay, now because of the cut in the higher education, what can be the consequence? Look at this. The first, as I told you, it will compel. Okay, it will compel the institutions. It will compel the institutions, that is higher educational institutions, to introduce new courses. Why? Because they have to make money, and to make money they have to introduce new courses, and that new courses may become costly and it can be less affordable to the students. So because it becomes costlier, it will add to the fiscal burden of the students. So these are the two analysis that the author makes. The third the author makes, that the author gives very, very beautiful fact. You can use this fact in other places also. If you take the gross enrollment ratio, okay, the average gross enrollment ratio, let me just remove this. If you take India and the global average, okay, if you take India and the global average, the gross enrollment ratio of India is somewhere around 27%, whereas the global average is 38%. Okay, now already India's gross enrollment ratio is very less compared to the global average. So by reducing the allocation, this will further reduce the gross enrollment ratio. That is another analysis that the author says. The author also says that such reduction in allocation will affect more adversely the marginalized section. It will affect more adversely the marginalized sections. Why does the author say this? Because again the author takes or makes use of this gross enrollment ratio. The author now brings in the actors within India. Okay, so if I take this as India, if I give women, SC and ST, if I take this as the three table, now look at this. Women gross enrollment ratio is 24.9%. SC is the gross enrollment ratio is 23%, and ST is the gross enrollment ratio is 18%. Look, the gross enrollment ratio of these marginalized sections are lesser than the national average, and this will reduce even more if you reduce the allocation on the higher education. So this is a very beautiful analysis that is given by the author. So you can put them as challenges and elaborate this in the topic of education, but please don't use the word disservice. Okay, so a very good factual information that you can use in your GS2 answer, especially in the topic of education itself, as well as in the topic of governance, okay, or in the topic of welfareism. So these are all different places where you can use these concepts very, very nicely. Okay, now the author finally says our GER is lesser than the GER of all BRICS nations. Our GER is lesser than the GER of all the other BRICS nations. So this is what is the entire scenario. Okay, now just one assignment, if you just to check whether you people are diligent in your studies, give me the prelims dimension of what is this higher educational financing authority. Okay, give me 5 unique factual dimensions about HEFA, that is higher educational financing authority. Okay, so you can post this in the comment section. This is just to check how this diligent community of mine, who are so much of a thinking individuals, who message me so much and who are worried about this program, will put their efforts to show their interest. Okay, with that, I hope this issue was helpful. Let us go to the next issue of the day. The next issue is about the Indira Gandhi's National Center of Arts Language Atlas. So they are taken up something called a language atlas that shows India's linguistic diversity. Again, this topic is very important from GS1 because language diversity are the keywords that are there present in GS1. Okay. Also, this can be used in GS2 also in the realms of social justice and governance. So this again is a very good article. Okay, now here the article mainly gives you a very, very good information about the linguistic diversity of India. Okay, before that, let me just read this out. This itself can come in the prelims exam. IGNCA, that is the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, is an autonomous body under the Union Cultural Ministry. Okay, it comes under the Ministry of Culture. Okay, and it is set to conduct a linguistic survey across the country to create a language atlas of India. Okay, so this is what is the aspect of this particular article. But more than this, what is important is the important facts that I'm going to give you now. Okay, so if you take the language or if you take the linguistic diversity of India, these are some very, very important facts given in this article. India currently recognizes 22 languages. It currently recognizes 22 languages officially in its 8th schedule. In its 8th schedule in the Constitution, of the Constitution, India officially recognizes 22 languages. Next point, these 22 languages, okay, 97% of India speaks these 22 languages. Okay, according to Census 2011, 97% speaks these 22 languages. The third point is there are an additional 99 non-scheduled languages in India. There are an additional 99 non-scheduled languages in India. Okay, again, this is also in accordance to Census 2011. And the fourth point is this 99 non-scheduled languages are spoken by a total of 37.8 million people in India. Okay, scheduled are those that are included in the 8th schedule. Non-scheduled are those that are not included in the 8th schedule. There are 99 non-scheduled languages which are spoken by 37.8 million people in India. Okay, so this is a very important stat. Outside this, few more important facts are, the fifth point is the native language spoken by 1.2 million people. The native languages spoken by 1.2 million people are unaccounted. They are unaccounted. The reason why they are unaccounted was because from census 1971, it was decided that the languages with less than 10,000 speakers will not be included. Will not be included. Okay, so from census 1971, the languages that are less than 10,000 speakers will not be included. Thus will leave almost, okay, almost 1.2 crore, that is 1.2 million, sorry, 1.2 million people outside the ambit of this linguistic survey done by our census. Okay, so that is the most unfortunate event. That is why we are seeing a lot of languages that are getting extinct, a lot of languages that are not getting preserved, and a lot of languages that are losing not only the people but the entire culture itself. So this is a huge setback for India with its ancient richness in its culture and language and its diversity. Hence this particular language atlas plays a very important role. Okay, so if we take all these points, if we take of all the surveys, the 1961 census, if you take 1961 census, this 1961 census is the more exhaustive. It is the more exhaustive and detailed. It is the most exhaustive and detailed with respect to linguistic data, because there this condition was not there. Okay, the condition that those languages spoken less than 10,000 speakers will not be considered, this was not there in census of 1961. So this gives you a very exhaustive and detailed linguistic data. But from 1971, we have a condition that languages with less than 10,000 speakers will not be included. So to summarize the linguistic diversity of India, overall we have 22 languages that are officially declared in the 8th schedule of Indian Constitution, which 97% of India's population speaks according to census 2011. Outside the scheduled languages, we have an additional 99 non-scheduled languages which are spoken by 37.8 million people in India. But you also have 1.2 million people in India whose native languages are not recorded because of the condition that was imposed from 1971 till today in census 2011. That is, the languages with less than 10,000 speakers will not be included. So this gives you very good factual information about the linguistic diversity of India. So I hope it was helpful. You can use this in your GS1 as well as GS2. Let us go to the next article. The next article is paying heed to the words of founding fathers. Okay, here if you can observe this article is on the 28th, that is today, 28th of February. Now the author has increasingly appreciated the, let us say, the current government of the day, that is BJP, or our Prime Minister, Mr. Honorable Narendra Modi. However, see, in your answer, you should not write all these things. Okay, so remove all these things. You can obviously address our Prime Minister in your answer, but more or less address the data as the government of India. Okay, so whatever appreciation that they give for the political party or any individual, try to not highlight it in your answers, but you can always take the information and then use it if it's applicable by using that information to target or by telling that information is done by the government of India. Okay, so that is something that you should understand. Now in this article, paying heed to the words of founding fathers, okay, a very good article that tells, I'll just change this particular article's heading to a question. If I have to change the article heading to the question, I will say, is our government implementing the DPSP in its truest spirit? Okay, is our government, okay, implementing the DPSP in its truest spirit? So this article can be changed to this question. So if I ask this question, is our government implementing DPSP in its truest spirit? This article gives us a very good answer. Now let us see why this article gives a very good answer. Okay, you can pause and write it down in your book, but let me just just read it out because it takes more time. I've just written it down because analysis I will give. This is anyways there in your book, so you can pause it and write it down. Article 39 of DPSP. If you take the Article 39 of DPSP, it expects the state to take care of the health and strength of the workers. Very important. It takes care of health and strength of the workers and to ensure that the children are not abused. That is what is Article 39. So it talks about two actors, one is workers and another is children. The next is if you take Article 47, here the state must regard its primary duty to raise the level of nutrition and the standard of living and to improve the public health. Okay, now in your answer, let us say that you will write these two articles. Now give the analysis part. If you do the analysis part, the first is take Ayushman Bharat. Okay, if you take the Ayushman Bharat, now here it is, you don't have to talk about the program, you just talk about how it is helping solve the problem of the problem of workers. Okay, helping the problem of health expenses or out of pocket expenditure. It helps reduce the out of pocket expenditure. So basically this Ayushman Bharat provides cashless health insurance. It provides cashless health insurance to the entire family. That family coverage is almost 120 million. And if I have to take individually, then it covers 550 million. See, this 120 million as a family, when I take, it covers both the workers within the family as well as it covers the children. Okay, and it provides tertiary as well as secondary hospitalization. So this is a step to solve our problems in order to implement our DPSP in its truest spirit. That's the first analysis. The second analysis is if you take the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Now in this Garib Kalyan Yojana, there is free ration that is given to almost 810 million people. There is free ration given to 810 million people. Now this again proves that we are taking care of the health and strength of the workers. See, Article 39 is implemented in its truest spirit. The next is if you take Article 47, you have something called Shri Anna, okay, where the government is giving more emphasis on millets. Okay, and you also have nutritional mission or nutrition mission. Okay, now this nutrition mission is basically in order to reduce 4 different categories. Okay, national nutrition mission is to reduce 4 categories. The categories are like this. The first is to reduce stunting, wasting, okay, anemic, stunting, wasting, anemic, and I'm not able to recollect one more. So these are some of the parameters that the National Nutrition Mission is trying to reduce. So look at this. We are trying to improve our public health. We are trying to improve the standard of living. For standard of living, you can say, according to the National Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index, 250 million people were pulled out of poverty. See, I'm giving you so much of analysis. Okay, this analysis can be written. So if they ask you if DPSP is implemented in its truest spirit, use Ayushman Bharat, use Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, use National Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index, use National Nutrition Mission, Shri Anna, or there are so many programs that you can use to say that yes, Article 39 and 47 are implemented in their truest spirit. A few more articles that the author gives is Article 42. Article 42 directs the state to ensure that there is just, humane conditions for work and there is maternity relief. Okay, for this just, humane conditions of work, you can talk about the labor reforms that were done in 2020, and they have brought in the labor codes, the 4 new labor codes. Okay, so you can talk about them. That shows that we are moving towards the protection of workers on occupational hazards, having a safety net for these workers. So that is a good thing. The next is if you take out maternity relief, here we have increased the provision of maternity leave. Okay, the maternity leave is increased, and it is increased from 12 weeks to currently 26 weeks. This comes closer to 6 months. Okay, so this is another progressive step in order to implement DPSP in its truest spirit. Okay, the next is if you take 39, 41 and 42 of our DPSP, Now, all these articles emphasizes on gender equality and women empowerment. Okay, here also the author gives a very good analysis. The author says the registration of 70% of homes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the registration of 70% of home under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, plus all subsidized cooking gas, that we get, cooking gas connections, all subsidized cooking gas connections, both this happens in the name of women in the household. All this happens in the name of women in the households. So this shows that we are again implementing this spirit of gender equality and women empowerment in its truest sense. So I hope you understood this. So taking Article 39, 41, 42 and 47, the author has very nicely explained different sections or programs of the government and how these different sections and programs of the government are helping implement the DPSP in its truest sense. Okay, so I hope you understood this. A very nicely written article. Again, you need not wait for them to ask about DPSP itself. Whenever the word comes on welfareism, use it nicely. Whenever the word comes on governance, use it nicely. Whenever the word comes on social justice, use these facts nicely. So this is smartness. Use these facts nicely wherever you feel that it can be used. Not only in GS2, but also in GS4 as well as GS3. Okay, so this is the interoperability of using the facts in different aspects of your answers. All right, so this completes this issue. Let us go to the last issue of the day. Okay, I know that you people are tired, but you people have to focus because we have to deal with all the 10 days from 20th to 28th February. So I have to make sure that I cover all the issues that has happened till now. Okay, the last issue is the green credit rules which may damage forest, says experts. Okay, so let me just tell you what this is. The government launched something called green credit program. The government launched something called green credit program. This green credit program is a market-based incentive program. It is a market-based incentive program. This was introduced in 2023. Okay, so basically this market-based incentive program that was introduced in 2023 was to encourage. It was to encourage individuals plus organizations. Individuals or organizations to undertake environmentally positive actions. Okay, to reduce emissions, carbon emissions. Okay, so what is this actions that they will take? What is this environmentally positive action? It is just that the individuals or organizations will be given degraded land, and in this degraded land, these individuals or organizations should set up forest plantations. Okay, and these forest plantations will be validated by the government. And when the validation is successful, then the government will give something called green credit certification. It will give green credit certification. Okay, so this green credit certification can be used in order to save some taxes. It can be used to save some type of transactions. So it can help a company or an individual in a way where it can give them some type of monetary benefit. Okay, however, this is what is the green credit program. Okay, it is a market based incentive. See, it is an incentive created to make sure that individual or an organization will have some type of a monetary benefit. Okay, so this is what is the afforestation plan of the government. They call it the afforestation plan. So this is an afforestation plan to attract private individuals or private companies. Okay, however, what is the problem? The problem is that the two things, the criticisms that are coming for this is, the first criticism is this program can be manipulated. This program can be manipulated to favor business conglomerates. That is the first criticism. The second is there is no rule or law that defines what is considered as degraded forests. Okay, so this is the two reasons that are being put forth by the environmentalists that are criticizing this green credit program. So I hope you understood what is this green credit program and why they say this green credit rules may damage forests. Why is this making news today is because the Ministry of Environment has released rules on the implementation of this green credit program, and the rule says that the state forest departments, it is the job of the state forest departments to identify all the degraded land and to make sure that these degraded land are then available for forest plantations. So because the rules have come out, this criticism is now starting to heighten, and hence you are seeing this article today. Okay, so this is the important article, again can be asked even in the prelims exam as well. So I hope you liked and enjoyed all the issues, and as I keep telling, it is not just listening and writing, it is about thinking. You have to develop your thinking, and to develop your thinking you have to read more. Okay, just listening and writing down thinking that I will anyway replicate all the facts that sir will give me will not do you any good. So please make sure that you read more, you read the newspapers, and if you have enjoyed this video guys, please make sure that you like, share and subscribe, because this is what will motivate me to do this on a regular basis. And please make sure that you get all your friends to like this video and make sure that they also benefit from this program. Thank you so much guys for all that support. I was really overwhelmed by the amount of following for this news in 30 minutes. I will not discontinue. It will continue for sure. But you don't have to worry. We will make sure that though it is infrequent, I'll make sure that I cover all the important issues of the day. Okay, I'll not miss out on anything. All right. With that, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.